Hi guys, Matt LaMarsh here with Keller Williams First Atlanta. Hope you guys are doing well. If you have a business or a nonprofit that you'd like to see featured here, please feel free to give me a call at 678-687-4397 or shoot me an email to matt@mattlamarsh.com. Thanks so much. They love a good pop color.
Actually, you know what I'll do? So it messes up your editing. I'll just keep popping it.
Was he here the whole time or not?
So here with Matt LaMarsh. Matt's a Keller Williams agent, just like me. He's got his own little selling Sandy Springs. It's like a What's Up Sandy Springs.
Exactly, pretty much.
With video.
Exactly. Yes, selling Sandy Springs is something I kind of came up with like a year ago, actually before I got into real estate, that I wanted to feature nonprofits and businesses and local leaders and local influencers and just kind of get them to tell their story. And then obviously, you know, a free video form to kind of use is what I call an extended commercial that they could use on social, they could use on their website, they could use wherever and whenever they wanted. But it's a free service, obviously, to them. You know, some of them are 2, 3, 4 minutes long. Others, with the mayor, we had one that was 33 minutes long. And so,
how long did it take you to interview the mayor? Like how many
1
shows?
hour. He gave me 60 minutes.
Okay, but how long before do it? Like it took us what, a year just to get into the mayor's office?
I never asked. Yeah.
Oh, I thought okay. So you just
But
asked.
that wasn't that was your first
That was
show.
the first episode, yeah.
Went big.
Well, so my first episode was like me just introducing myself and saying, here's what Selling Sandy Springs is all about. You know, for the first 2 months from like October, November, I'd kind of been working on like the structure of it, the feel of it and everything, and promoting it without really having done any work yet. And so in November, really just hit the ground running on interviewing people and getting in front of the right people to interview. And the
So
mayor,
you were telling people that you were doing Selling Sandy Springs months ago.
yeah.
And they were like, oh, for what?
Yeah, well, and what is it, and what are you going to be doing, and who are you going to be talking to? I mean, it's
You're not a real estate agent, though.
not at that time. Yeah, I mean, I got my license on December 5th, so you know the idea was kind of like a sink or swim thing, and it's not something you can explain in 30 seconds. Unfortunately, it's easier actually just to go watch a video and go, okay, I get it.
Right.
Or just to listen to the audio and go, I see what he's doing here. But to explain it is like a 4 or 5 minute thing where it takes some getting used to the idea of people being on video. Not many people are comfortable.
Oh, I hate it. I'm hating it right now.
Shout out.
And I wore my pink shirt to accent my red face.
Yeah, and you know what? One of us should have shaved. We all look like, you know.
I'm pretty scrungy.
Yeah.
There's something there.
You guys look really similar. You almost have the same.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
we're kind of like...
It's the Matt template. Yeah. It's the Matt template. There is a template.
And it's funny, like, everything that you mentioned, like, I actually was promoting What's Up Dunwoody before I was real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was, like, right at the beginning. So, yeah.
Well,
I guess another similarity.
Even if I didn't get my license, this was something that I was still going to do because in this area, in Dunwoody, in Roswell, in Alpharetta even, I mean, as you move further up north, 400, there's just a lot of complaining going on, I feel like, about what's going on in this area. And for me, I wanted to bring out the positive. Like, there's a lot of really cool, good things happening in this area, and none of that's getting any airtime.
Yep.
So I wanted to put that on.
If you read Facebook comments, it's all negative.
Yeah.
Everything.
Or next door.
Yeah.
If you ever spend any more than 10
stay
seconds
away
on
from
next
that.
door.
This is like a parallel universe. You need your Justin.
I need to be a Matt LaWeber. Yeah, you do need a
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we'll be hiring soon.
somebody
For
who's
sure.
popping collars. I could just loan them out to you.
I work for free.
Oh, even better. That's exactly what we were looking to pay.
Yeah.
So, but no, yeah. So I just wanted to kind of, you know, I'm really involved with the homeowners association. Have been for the last 4 years. Is that another thing
I'm
here?
on the homeowners association for Dunwoody.
So
Wait, is your wife blonde and
No.
thin?
no,
Her name's Tasha.
no. I was president of our homeowners association for the last 4 years, which Mount Vernon Woods is 250 homes. They kind of straddle Abernathy and Mount Vernon, and you know, going through the last 4 years, not just inside of our neighborhood, but everything kind of around us with Mercedes-Benz and UPS and Newell Rubbermaid. I mean, all of these big movements that, you know, corporations were making. there was a lot of traffic concerns and a lot of issues that were getting brought up that the homeowners were worried about, and rightfully so. I mean, if you've lived here for 30 or 40 years, you've seen a lot of change. Just you can't deny that. But I've only been in Sandy Springs for 7 years, and one of the reasons that I moved to Sandy Springs was because we lived in Ackworth, and it was kind of a quiet, sleepy little town, and there wasn't much going on there, economically. I mean, there just wasn't much opportunity. When we moved here, it was like the world just exploded with things coming at us. So when we moved here 7 years ago and we were looking for our next house, we decided, kind of like East Cobb, Sandy Springs, Dunwoody area. We wanted to be kind of close to the city, but also kind of have that suburban feel still and be closer to stuff that we do. And I'm not one to just like go and buy a house and then just sit there and not kind of get involved on some level. So got onto the board as the vice president like 2 years in, and then was quickly promoted.
Voluntold is the word.
Voluntold, right? Yeah.
I mean, somebody else steps out.
I did such a great job at the vice president role that they promoted me to president of the homeowners association. No, but got to learn a lot about the area in that time. Attended a lot of zoning meetings and planning commission meetings and mayor and city council meetings where neighbors were out and pretty big force, kind of sharing what they wanted to see, and as we've just kind of redone our development code, I was a big proponent of kind of smart growth as opposed to just growth for growth's sake. And the mayor actually put me on a zoning advisory board, which basically kind of held the teeth, if you will, of the development code ordinances and stuff, the law behind the development code. And that was interesting because we had a lot of homeowners. We had a lot of homeowners association, presidents and vice presidents and members. But we also had developers and commercial real estate agents and, just a lot of people stakeholders basically that are buying into Sandy Springs. And so through that process, I really got to kind of see behind the scenes of when you write a 10-year comprehensive plan, this is what it looks like and this is how you go and execute upon it, which was really cool. And that was a neat experience. So they're looking at a lot of challenges over in Sandy Springs with the North End revitalization up near the river, just south of Roswell, and trying to figure out how do we bring more economic development? Does the government subsidize it? Do we get partnerships with other developers that are going to bring economic development and change to that area, or how does that all work out and how does it shake out? So, but it's been good. It's been good 7 years, and I'm glad I got involved because we can all sit on the sidelines and complain, or you can get off and start talking about it and actually put some change into place.
We sat on the sidelines and complained for a few years now.
Yeah.
But it's funny, another similarity. We moved here about 7 years ago. I think it was like 8 years ago. And I didn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Just sat back and...
But, these homeowners, these HOAs are little gateway drugs to getting more involved. Like you're saying, I mean, that's how you got in with the mayor right away, because obviously he knew you through
already
that.
had that connection.
100%.
Yeah. What's the neighborhood? What's your actual neighborhood?
Yeah, it's Mount Vernon Woods.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one.
So
is this your sales pitch? Do you have a pool?
Yeah, do you have I'm sure you have a pool.
Of course we have a pool.
We'll talk. Actually, are your pool dues built into the HOA fees?
Yeah,
Okay.
So that's kind of what's crazy, right? Is that 250 homes, we have, most of them built in basically two phases in the 50s and the 70s. My house is kind of like in phase 2. And, the old school amenities that the 50s and 60s and 70s brought was giant pools, typically clubhouses or at least restrooms, and then a kiddie pool or tennis courts or some other ancillary amenity. And when you look around at like your competition, so to speak, especially in real estate, when you're looking at neighborhoods around that area, that's a big value add. A lot of people like to be in a swim tennis community, and it adds to the value of your home. A lot
it
of
adds
people
to the value of your community. I mean,
100%.
You get to know your neighbors.
100%. And so that's another thing that we tried to do with the HOA was, build out 10 events a year, basically, almost once a month, from a chili cook-off to a 4th of July thing. I mean, if you were in town most of the summer you could attend 3 or 4 events and get involved and meet a lot of neighbors that you hadn't met before. Times have just changed where when I was a kid, we were outside playing all day long and you knew all of your neighbors, and it was just a very different time. It's changed, but I think that that's one of the challenges that all new neighborhoods face. It's not necessarily the size or the scope or the amenities that you have. It's just the people.
Well, was there a difference between the phase 1 people in the neighborhood and the phase 2s in terms of, do some of them have to pay those HOA fees?
Yeah, it's an umbrella, so everyone's in it that has been in it from the beginning, which was like 2000.
Oh, great.
So at some point, 2/3 vote got put through for the whole neighborhood, and those 2/3 joined, and they kind of started the association.
So 1/3 doesn't have to pay?
They didn't.
Okay.
They didn't have to at that time, but since then, I mean, I think we've got 214 or 215 homes now part of the association. So, we've made a huge increase over just really like in the last 2 to 3 years in presenting that value prop that, there's a lot of good that can come from a homeowners association. It's not just what you hear.
And you got to bring them in when the house sells, right? So like basically if you owned it prior to this being a thing, you didn't have to, but then if you sell it, that's how you get them in?
Yeah, the right of the association runs with the property. So even if you go and buy a 1,200 square foot home in that neighborhood, you tear it down and build a McMansion on it for 5,000 or 6,000 square feet, it's still there. You're still part of the association, right. Even if you put a pool in your backyard. So, which a lot of people have, and a lot of them question, what's the value to me? I have a pool in my backyard. Well, it's still good for your property values. Like the fact that there's a tennis court here, the fact that there's a kids playground. I mean, the entrances are all maintained and landscaped, and we've actually just put up 2 new signs on Abernathy. We're going to do 2 more on Mount Vernon once the city of Sandy Springs decides what they're going to do with Mount Vernon.
He got permission for his signs.
Do y'all have a HOA?
Rookie? Is that rookie?
Georgetown? I wish we had a HOA here.
That's a little video.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, see, that's why you should watch the video and not just listen to the podcast.
Yeah, if you're one of our podcast listeners, you should check out the video. This is interesting.
We'll definitely link up the video. It adds a new dynamic.
Yeah, it does. It does
for sure.
I don't think I like it. I keep forgetting about it too.
Yeah, except I think
scratching myself. I don't have shoes on. Like
you're the only one that hasn't done this so far.
I was dozing off when you guys.
That's another video only joke.
Right. But no, I mean, when you're looking to be competitive in real estate, especially when you're looking at different neighborhoods, some of them are charging $750, $1,000, $1,200, to be a year, to be a part of that. And if you go to like a Lifetime Fitness or wherever has a pool and tennis courts, you're going to pay $200, $300, $400 a month in some cases. Easily. Or even a country club at a couple thousand for initiation and a couple more hundred every month. I mean, it's just not cheap to run an association. Period. It doesn't matter what the amenities are. But it's interesting from a business standpoint. If you run it like a business, it's successful. Well, and that's one thing that, as the president of our homeowners association, I was always looking after, because these are volunteer roles, right? Yeah. And I'm always a
lot of retired folks too that don't understand what Justin's talking about.
Yeah. Well, when I started out on the board, it was me as the youngest one by call it 20 years basically. And over the 4 years, I basically transitioned everyone out and back and kind of refilled every other position. And that's in and of itself a challenge. But then when you've got young working professionals that have young kids and young families, and some of them aren't even married yet, one of my big things was I value your time. Our monthly meeting is going to be an hour. If it goes over, I apologize, but I'm really, really trying to look after your time, and I appreciate your time as a volunteer. But then in addition, it's a very seasonal thing. Obviously, when you're opening your pool up, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into that. And then, of course, closing it down at the end of the season. We just had our tennis courts resurfaced. So, there's a lot of major expense and time and effort that goes into it. And I tried to value people's time as much as possible because they were volunteers.
Well, and that's the weirdest thing about it is it's actually really a business. You guys probably take in between $100,000 and $200,000 a year. And it's just run by these transitory type roles. It's like in 2 years, I'm not going to be doing it.
That's right.
Are you still the
plan
HOA
on
president?
getting out?
I just got out yesterday, actually.
Really?
Yeah, we
You're
had
gonna get killed tomorrow. Oh, he just retired.
No, I mean, I had some objectives, and I told my wife when I took it over, I was like, I want to make sure that we've invested into the community more than just the dollars that we throw at this thing. And, that was kind of like my way of bridging the gap between us just moving here and kind of where I am today with, I got to meet most of my neighbors face to face, which, again, doesn't happen much. But in addition, we had some debt and we paid it down and we'll be done with it this year. And that was one of my major objectives, was to remove all debt from the association, because it only holds you back. When you got $1,400 or $1,500 a month going out, that money could be reinvested. And even though money's cheap right now, and it was when they took on the loan, it's something that I just don't run my business that way. I don't like to run any other organization that way. I think it kind of holds you back. So
what was the loan for?
They just did some minor renovations on the pool and the kiddie pool and the playground and stuff. I mean, it was definitely a value add for sure, but it was just a difference of philosophy. And for me to get that paid down, kind of put the next step in front of us, that here's the next set of challenges and objectives we need to try and overcome. And financially healthy organizations always do better than those that are strapped for cash rather. So
we're the opposite. We've always been frugal, and now we're going big and putting in a nice. We're
Well,
tearing out the whole pool soon.
yeah, and you do have to be competitive. I mean, there are people shopping just based on swim and tennis for sure. But in this area, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of opportunities that people have, and there's a lot of different ways they could go with the decision that they make for their home based on the community that it's in. But
that's the big difference between a neighborhood pool and, say, a Lifetime Fitness. I mean, one, you can't just hang out and drink for a few hours by the pool, and that sounds, I don't know. I mean, that sounds like, well, who would want to, I'm not about just doing that. But no, I mean, that's that camaraderie between your neighbors, know? Like, you don't, if you go and you sit down at Lifetime Fitness, you don't necessarily know where that person next to you is from. They could be coming in from 30 miles away.
Pool's the only place I see my neighbors.
Well, yeah.
Except for the 6 that live around me,
Well, it's interesting too when you talk with some of the older folks in our neighborhood that have raised their families for the last 30 or 40 years in those homes. Every Friday night they used to do family night at the pool, which is like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, we just don't have time for that now. Like we haven't made time for that, and they used to do that. It was a way to build the community. And so, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be excuses for why you shouldn't do something. But at the same time, there's always going to be a million more reasons for why you should. And that's one thing that we've really tried to, by bringing in the next younger generation, try to invent some things and create some new ideas that would engage the community on a different level. So,
well, and it's an easy thing to put out there on social media. I'm sure you guys have a Facebook group now, which is probably pretty active.
Yeah.
And certainly more in the summertime, you've got actual events to post up and everything.
Exactly.
Justin here is trying to bring all of the neighborhoods together.
Well, I like the idea of sister clubs. So, for example, let's say my pool is going to have an adult night. Their pool could have a tween night. So that means the parents from my neighborhood could drop off their kids over here, and then you kind of swap throughout the summertime.
And when you've asked, everybody's been cool about it, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, Well, and when you think about it, all the high schools are feeding into one place.
Yeah,
right?
all
All
the
neighborhoods
same kids.
Yeah, so
Right.
they all know each other, so they can bring so there's a lot of different ways to bridge them. I mean, I think it'd be really neat if you could kind of have this sort of well, if you're a member of this pool, you can come to this pool as well, and that's a bit too
like
groundbreaking right now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, right. So,
I mean, look, anything that brings in more revenue is always a good thing.
Right.
Like, it's just a matter of how much revenue and is that beneficial for everyone involved, right? Because if it's a win-win, there's no reason.
yeah.
You know what I mean? There is a dollar amount, there is a price, everyone has it, and for me, I think it's a great idea. It's just a matter of finding those people, because right now it might seem like a new idea, but a year from now it might be the common theme,
Well, and you have to have sort of the same security features in terms of like,
Sure.
does everybody have a wristband? Okay, so stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you open it up too much, then people are just kind of gate crashing every pool, and we all know that that's an issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you guys handle that?
Well, that's a great question. I think the liability from a homeowners association standpoint is the biggest challenge, because when you look at insurance, it's not cheap. when you talk about a pool or tennis courts, there's always the possibility for injuries and
We still got our high dive too.
and that's a thing, right? Like there is actual limitations on the insurance and what you can and can't get, and that's a huge cost to the association. So, but the way that we've kind of handled it is we shop our insurance regularly, and with our new signs that we just put up, we had to have those covered. If someone runs off the road and knocks over our sign, does their car insurance pay for it? Does our homeowner's liability cover it? There's just all those questions that you have to get answers for, and it may never ever happen, but they still have to be there.
It's surprising how often people hit those signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had just the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it.
Clarify, I didn't hit the sign just the other day.
No, some drunk idiot hit your sign the other
He's not a
day.
very good driver. Got it.
So, okay, well, let's go back to you. So,
Sure.
your landscaping, you still do that? You
I
still
do.
have that?
Yeah. So I
Just
don't.
found somebody to run it?
I don't run the day to day. I have a guy that's running the crew day to day, and the business is great because it kind of maintains itself. About a year ago, we kind of pivoted in a new direction where we were just doing maintenance, and by maintenance I mean weekly, bi-weekly visits, as opposed to big, sodded planting projects and stuff like that, redesigns. And at that point, it was pretty clear to me that I could kind of step out of the business day to day. And at the time, I had 2 full-time guys.
You're me.
Do you speak Spanish?
Sí,
I figured.
un poquito.
Yeah,
Just a little.
It helps, right? Oh, just a little bit? Oh, no. Okay. So
No.
We didn't even get the joke. We both just sit there staring at that. Is he talking to us?
Tumbleweed going through. What's the website for it? I mean, I must
Yeah,
mention that.
it's LaMarshLandscaping.com on Facebook and Instagram and everything else.
It's
But
original.
yeah,
LaMarsh.
it's a branding thing,
Yeah.
Like for me, I always knew I was going to get into real estate at some point. It was just a matter of when, and I knew that the name association, at least I hoped that by kind of creating a synonymous name with quality, with good customer service, with reliability, that would carry over into real estate or anything I did for that matter.
But it's by the same handbook. I've got a
Yeah.
Dogwood Pizza
Mm-hmm.
for the Dogwood team real estate.
Yeah.
Not a big team. It's me and my transactional coordinator and my
Yeah.
coach. And
But it seems
That's it.
bigger than it is.
Yeah.
And that's all that really
I mean,
matters.
yeah.
At the end of the day, marketing wise, I can't tell you how many text messages, emails, phone calls that I would get about, hey, I saw one of your trucks. And I'm like, one of my trucks? You saw the truck.
Yeah.
Like, that's the truck. That's the trailer. It's the only one out there.
Yeah.
We're not this like multinational landscaping company.
But you just learn to use we.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, you saw one of the fleet.
Yeah.
That's right.
Do you guys, I didn't see it on the website, do you guys take money online for your services?
Still pushing. Still pushing.
Yeah, this is another thing I'll push.
So when I got my trailer kind of done up with all the logos and everything, it was really important for me to include MasterCard, Visa, American Express on there, and even Discover for those of you that still have it, because it's actually easier for me. Selfishly, it's better for me. I don't like going to the bank. I don't like depositing checks. That little automatic, the ATM check taker deposit never ever works for me at SunTrust. Get on that immediately.
Does it suck in your checks?
It does, but then it spits all of them right back out
Okay.
immediately. Like it didn't even try.
Yeah.
So
Like, how could you figure it out that quick?
Well, imagine it with a pizza place. I mean,
Yeah,
we
well,
get tons of checks, and
and-
they just
and so for me,
pain.
it was never even an option. We had to take Venmo, we had to take PayPal, we had to take credit cards online, and so we invoice electronically. You can pay it online through Intuit, QuickBooks, and it posts to the account 2 days later. And again, it saves me time. Like, yeah, it's great for my customers, but at the same time, it's saving me a weekly trip to the bank, which I still make because people still write checks.
I didn't see a way to do it through the
Through the website, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll have
I mean, I'll put a link there if people just want to send money, but I have
No,
to
no.
attach it to an invoice
Right.
for the way that I'm built right now. Yeah.
yeah. But if it was automatically taken out of their account, you
Yeah,
just send
I'm
it
saying,
to
exactly.
the
I'm saying,
invoice.
would you like to get set up with recurring billing every month? Like, so somebody signs up immediately through the website for like a monthly or let's say bi-weekly package.
Right.
That goes directly into your PayPal. There's no waiting around 2 days.
Yeah.
And then what PayPal would actually end up doing is sending basically your QuickBooks stuff, a thing that just a little note that says, hey, this guy paid it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for what I set up originally, it was a high touch volume thing, and we've done business with 250-ish customers, and a good portion of those, call it 200, have been one-time jobs. And so I have to go in, I have to create the invoice, I have to send the invoice. For the reoccurring stuff now, that's our bread and butter. Now, absolutely, something like that makes a lot more sense, because the only thing that changes, if you have biweekly service throughout the year, you have 26 visits.
Right.
So if you go from weekly to biweekly in the fall or in the winter, when we probably shouldn't be there every week, at least it's not frugal or advised in my professional opinion.
I was mowing my lawn yesterday and somebody made fun of me.
What are you doing, man?
It was like there was 10 weeds that I could see.
Sure.
So I thought I'd just
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the next thing for me is how do you make it as easy as possible, honestly. For me, and
Justin's good at that.
That's I set up recurring billing.
He's just set up
Okay.
all our sponsorship. We're
Yeah.
going to start taking sponsors.
Nice.
We've actually just secured our first sponsor. You want to mention it here, I guess?
Yeah, Village Orthodontics.
Village
Matt, how are your
Orthodontics.
teeth doing right now? Are they straight?
Great, yep.
Yeah. Oh, so
Sasha,
you
my
don't need
wife's-
to go to Village Orthodontics.
No, my wife will be there soon, though.
Yeah. I got a free 3D scan of my.
Yeah.
And he could have printed it out in 3D so he scans it in 3D, and then he
Uh-huh.
could have done that. Well, actually, what do you say? It's like
It's
a
a
resin?
3D mold model.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But they use that, so like if you lose your braces or you lose your retainer, I guess you can't lose your braces, but you lose your retainer, they can just have another one ready for you because they already know what your teeth look like.
Ah,
Pretty cool, right?
very
And
cool.
then
Well,
when you
got
get
kids.
a sponsor,
You got kids.
Oh,
then when you get a sponsor, you just have to mention it on every show. So
gotcha. There you go.
Check.
so we're gonna
You
start.
gotta have a video strategy. There's
Yeah.
no reason
I keep
for you
forgetting about
not
the video.
to do video.
It
translates.
is like the same amount of work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's doing its thing over there.
Yeah, I forgot it was there.
More editing.
Yeah.
A little more.
Yeah, a little bit more.
A little more.
Yeah, we just started outsourcing through the sponsorship. Now we can get. I'm going to send all my editing off.
Nice.
They're just going to send it back to me, and that's it.
That's
We're gonna
awesome.
post it. So
Very cool.
really excited about it. Hopefully, we'll be able to put out more shows weekly. 2 shows a week.
Were you waiting for the applause meeting?
No. I can cut that out later. I'll cut out you making fun of me later. I'll have somebody
won't.
take it out.
Yeah, don't worry.
Where is Selling Sandy Springs going to go?
So
Like, what do you hope to do with that?
yeah, the idea for me was just to kind of put that positive side of what's going on in Sandy Springs and kind of cover up the fact that you have a loud minority out there that are talking about the bad stuff. And it was like, one of the reasons again that we moved here was because things were moving, things were changing. The development that was happening was exciting. It was going to be fun to be a part of. And selfishly, as an investor, as a real estate person, I wanted to invest in a community that was growing, because if you're not growing, you're dying. And stagnation is a bad thing in real estate. And so, when we purchased our home, the idea was we want to be in an area where we eventually get more for that home than we originally paid, which is a strange concept, I know. But that was our objective. And even just in the last 7 years, we've seen that happen. And so hopefully that trend will continue, and hopefully people will continue to move to this area and are excited about what we're excited about.
Sandy Springs is nice. You guys just put in that. What's the big city center?
City Springs,
City Springs.
Yeah.
Do you know how much that cost?
90 million, 100 million,
No,
something.
it was like 200 million, wasn't it? The mayor said something.
Sorry,
about it.
yeah, there were 2 figures thrown around. The first was like,
Because we were telling people 140, and then somebody told us it was more than that.
Yeah, it depends on who you ask and how you ask them.
Either way,
because
it's a buttload.
it's
of money.
a lot of money. But I think what's interesting is if you look
It's a
around.
buttload. I don't think I've ever said buttload
We'll have
before.
to mute that.
Yeah.
Beep.
Sorry to interrupt.
Beep.
Beep load. Which would be worse.
If you look at there's 2 or 3 developments, apartment mixed use developments that have gone on Roswell Road there, just right around the corner, and that's private equity coming in and dumping a ton of money into that same area. Some of it before and some of it after City Springs, but at the end of the day, it's all moving the needle in the right direction. And I think when you see a city put up 90, 100, 200 million dollars, that should say something to you as a real estate person, as a community member. You should probably take notice of something there. And
What you notice is Mercedes.
yeah, well, I mean, look, the economic team,
Mercedes-Benz.
the economic development team over in Sandy Springs is ridiculous. I mean, they are awesome at getting new business in Sandy Springs, and hopefully that will continue, because while they aren't making dirt anymore, there's still a lot of areas that could use some redevelopment, that could use some new corporation or new headquarters. Again, particularly on the north side, I think that area is screaming for new development.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of old apartment complexes and stuff that.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, it's in this area. It's just one of those natural challenges that in the 80s and the 90s, and even in the 70s, a lot of those things got built because there was demand there. There was a need, and now that need has kind of shifted to millennials are waiting a little bit longer to buy their first house, so they're renting longer. They need places to stay. You guys have State Farm over here. We have Mercedes over there and UPS over there. I mean, there's a very thin line between Sandy Springs and Dunwoody, but it's basically the same thing when you look at the economics and the age gaps of, the baby boomers getting out of the housing market and downsizing, and then the millennials getting into their first house. There's a need. And it's
Are y'all adding apartments over there?
Yeah, I mean, just
listen to this. We have not added apartments since the city was founded.
I know, I'm jealous.
Isn't that
I mean,
crazy?
I don't know. Yeah.
That just blows my mind.
No, I think Dunwoody's
Did you
done
know
a.
that fact?
I did not know that.
That's why High Street's such a big deal, because High Street, DeKalb County told High Street they could do it 10 years ago.
Oh,
And so
right.
those will be our first apartments
Yeah.
in that long.
Yeah, and we have so many apartments in Sandy Springs already that you wonder, what's the diminishing return on these.
Seems like they could just fix those up.
Yeah,
That's what I wish they do around here.
Yeah, so you've seen $300 million spent in, a quarter mile of 2 or 3 developments, not even including City Springs, which has its own residential component that, $2,800 to $3,800 a month is what they're asking for rents over there. I mean, that's better than Buckhead. That's better than Midtown in a lot of areas. I shouldn't say better. It's higher.
Yeah.
It's higher.
Have you heard about High Street? Mm-hmm. It's over by. It's going to be close to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
We're really. I mean, that area of Perimeter Mall. I mean, there's just a line all of a sudden at Sandy Springs. You would never know that you're in a different city. I mean,
yeah, well, and it's just like the panhandle, right, of Sandy Springs. You don't, like, there's a lot of people that live just north of us here, where we are today, that don't realize they're actually the city of Sandy Springs. You cross over Spalding and you're in Sandy Springs.
And it always blows my mind. You guys are Fulton County too, right? And have you seen that? Check out the map. It stretches way up to Fulton County.
So some gerrymandering happened.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. But
It's
it's really funny.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. But even if you talk to a lot of people in Dunwoody, they're like, yeah, we live in Sandy Springs or in Fulton, when they're on the other side of the road. They just don't know. And it's weird because even near Perimeter Center in the mall where you're talking about, there's no signage. There's not like a welcome to Sandy Springs thing. There may be one on Hammond somewhere, but outside of that, you don't really know. And especially if you're not from here, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea where you are.
Chambly's the only one killing it in terms of signage for, hey, this is now Chambly.
We're going to start doing it soon, though. That's
this big sign I'm talking about? Yeah.
Well, so so Larry and Alma Tony were my mom's parents. They grew up, they raised my mom and all of her 3 siblings in Dunwoody. And then my dad's parents.
Easy with the table tapping.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot.
You're on a podcast now.
Yeah, I forgot.
It's
like to be animated for the video.
Sorry to do it again.
No.
Yeah, that plays great on video, but
Yeah, it does. Like tribal drums in the back. Yeah. Jim and Judy LaMarsh started out in Chambly as well. My dad's parents, and my parents met in high school at Chambly High School. Got married. They were high school sweethearts, and so this area is again changed a ton. And I'm only 36. Just in the last 36 years, it's gone crazy.
Chambly
especially Chambly, and
it's like an apartment city now. It just blows my mind. Every time I go there, it's changed.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's going to be great for 15, 20 years, and then those are all going to be crappy apartments that we're talking about. And so
there's 2 ways to look at it. As a real estate person, you can appreciate the investment because they spend $90 million, and they've got probably 10, 15, 20 good years of a solid run.
they're smart enough to get it back.
Oh, 100%. They're always going to get it back, and it's just a matter of when, right? But then when it is pouring cash out of the ATM that it is, why on earth would they get rid of it? You know, why would they sell it to a condo developer that is going to just go in and paint walls and then flip it? But the market will dictate all, and at some point that will become viable for someone or it won't. But for the old stuff, I think it's just a matter of quality, because when you look at new apartments, it's like, I mean, it's not what I lived in when I was in college. It is a far scream that's actually luxury. Even though my apartment was called a luxury apartment, it was not close to luxury.
I don't think they had a luxury apartment in Athens.
Well, I feel like everyone just calls their apartments luxury apartments now. But there's a marked difference between 10, 15 years ago, what was considered luxury, and now what's actually luxury.
Yeah, that stuff in Chambly's nice.
Yeah.
Real nice. Hey, did you see Chambly Plaza is getting a facelift? They're going to, you know Chambly Plaza, right? From growing up. They're adding, what is it, TJ Maxx?
TJ Maxx, I saw it
Home
today.
Goods.
Five Below.
Five Below.
Some sort of Korean barbecue
You
place.
mentioned that one.
Five Below is
I
huge
know
with the
you
kids.
love Five Below.
You ever take your kids to Five Below?
Dude,
That place sucks.
Yeah.
it's the only store they want to go to.
I
I don't know
right?
why. I don't know why.
Well, it's their. I think it's their Toys R Us because, and they know that they're probably going to walk away with 2 or 3.
Yeah, they're allowed to get what they want.
Oh,
That's why that's
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Huh. Hadn't thought about that. That's a good point.
Well,
that's the only store they want to go to.
Right.
My kids.
But and when you think about it, there really is no Toys R Us now, so that's it for them.
Speaking of Sandy Springs, somebody brought. Okay, so we were talking about the scooter. You know, the scooters in Atlanta. They were talking about bringing scooters to Dunwoody, or how we were going to handle the whole scooter phenomenon. And the mayor was saying that he's going to try to team up with your mayor, and they're going to come up with like a regional plan for it. He did just get up in the middle of the podcast.
It's not going to work well on video.
Yeah,
but-
pop that collar before you come back.
No, just change shirts.
Come back with that one.
Change shirts altogether, please.
But yeah, so I mean, I guess there's a lot of things that Sandy Springs and Dunwoody kind of work together for,
Yeah.
just specifically because of that area.
Yeah,
that's a problem that or not a problem. That's great that cities have to deal with. You know, like there's not huge, 10-story buildings in most cities, like.
Right.
And there's right on the edge of both of our cities.
Yeah, well, and it seems like, as far as I can tell, and again, I've only been here now for, 7 years, but there's always been a really good working relationship between the two cities, because I think they understand that there are a lot of challenges that we can face individually, and then there's a lot that we can probably face better together. And I've heard a lot of, and read a lot of articles about different projects and different incentives that the two of us have kind of put in place to benefit each other. And, we've basically been kind of fighting the same fight for, 30 or 40 years. Eva, back with Sandy Springs, started fighting for, cityhood 40 years ago. And it just happened 13 years ago. So that's a long fight to only be 13 years old at this point. But you have to have cooperation with your next closest neighbors, because if you don't, whatever we build out in Sandy Springs is going to affect Dunwoody, and vice versa. Just like Roswell, just like East Cobb, just like Chambly and Brookhaven, and just like Buckhead. So, whatever we do here, we do have to be thoughtful about our neighbors, but also what can they do to help benefit us? I mean, it needs to be a mutual relationship.
The independent school system thing, I mean, that's something that we're really going to team up with Sandy Springs.
Yeah, they're actually, so one of our city councilwoman for District 4 in my district is Jody Reichel. She's actually one of my neighbors, and she put together a group to do an initial study on just Sandy Springs at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I know Dunwoody had looked at it at one point, and just the feasibility study is like $20,000, But when you have 108,000 people in Sandy Springs, and I don't know how many in Dunwoody currently, but
90.
So call it 200,000 people. If we all pitched $100, that thing would go a long, long way. Not just for the feasibility study, but also to actually put something in place or put a timeline together.
That issue is more about getting the rest of the state.
Yeah, the rest of the state's not going to play along with that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest challenge we have ahead of that whole problem. But as long
So
as people
Fulton
are
County school system. Okay.
Yeah, and if things continue the way that they have, someone's going to win. Either things are going to actually get better, or they're going to continue to decline to a point where we don't accept it anymore, and change actually does occur. Because that's how change happens.
Yeah. And until then, you're going to be paying for private school, huh?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, when you make it the new normal,
Yeah.
it's just like driving.
That's why you're in real estate now.
That's right.
Gotta sell some
That
homes.
landscaping money can only go so far.
That's exactly right.
Gotta go to LaMarshlandscaping.com.
That's
.com.
right. That's right. No, yeah. I mean, it's just like driving a Honda Civic. Yes, it will get you from point A to point B, but in a Porsche, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. What year is that Porsche out front?
86.
86?
Yeah.
What's the LaMarsh Racing? Is that what that is on the side?
No, not yet. That's coming.
That's coming. That's one of the...
That's
You're
the
like
next
me,
thing.
severe ADD and just starting businesses over and over.
Because a racing business makes a ton of money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you look at any of them over the last...
Just racing guys for pink slips, right?
Yeah. No, that car is actually... There's a huge story behind it, so I'll spare you the details. But
It's
basically...
beautiful.
Thank you very much. As a kid, I had a picture of a big poster on my wall of a 911, a red 911, and I never actually intended on buying Pull Me Over Red, because that's exactly what it does. But as a kid, had that poster on my wall growing up, and I was like, that's it. Like, that's the dream car. And I was always a car guy, kind of, my dad worked in the auto industry and would commute to Detroit every Monday and then fly back on Friday night. So I always just loved being around cars, went to all the car shows, and me and my brother would drive to dealerships as soon as I could get my license and drive, and we'd just go look at new cars. And that was like our thing, Most kids were playing video games or whatever, but that was kind of like our shared bond, if you will. But like 4 years ago, I bought that car, and I actually...
What year is it?
86.
86.
So
it was the car that you had on your wall, pretty much. 86.
Pretty close, yeah. That one was a slant nose, which is just a little bit different look, but the one that I have is as close as I could probably afford.
Have you ever taken it to Caffeine Octane?
Yeah. Yeah, I was there 3 weeks ago, actually. Yeah.
We've never been there, either one of us.
You should go. It's a good time.
We've heard
even
so sad.
Even if you're not a car guy, it's still fun. Like,
Yeah.
especially with kids, they love it because
My
there's
kids
fire
love it.
trucks and dump trucks, and also, I mean, there's a plane car that goes there. Actually, Bruce is coming on selling Sandy Springs soon, but since it's in Dunwoody, you guys should absolutely talk to him. He's a really cool guy. And a lot of people don't know that story either, that 12, 15, almost 20 years ago, that thing started out as like over in East Cobb, the avenues at East Cobb. There were like 10 guys that got together every Sunday morning, and they would literally just grab a cup of coffee and walk out and talk cars. And then it went from 10 to 20 to 50 to 100, and then it moved up to Windward Parkway up in Alpharetta, and just went to a whole new level. There was like 3,000 cars up there. And then a couple years ago, they moved it down to Perimeter Mall, and then it just went even more berserk, and he started doing advertising and having vendors there, and it's just a really cool story. But it's
the biggest one now.
the biggest reoccurring monthly car show in the country, actually in the world.
Okay.
Now. Yeah, and it's right here. Like, a lot of people don't know
We've
that.
never talked to him.
Yeah. Well,
You're going to.
or gone.
I'll put you in touch.
Yeah,
He's a
we
good
need to
guy.
reach out.
He's a good guy.
It's funny because you'll see that people video might be a little bit more difficult, but anybody will be on a podcast.
Yeah.
Like 9 out of 10 of the people that I ask,
They don't
will
care
do it.
what they sound like so much as what they look like.
Yeah, and it's relaxing. Like I kind of forgot about your video actually.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about it, but yeah, I mean it's easy to talk.
It is.
And you just don't even think about it. So
Yeah.
at least you haven't done that Garth thing.
That'll be the intro, I
the
think.
big eyes. Now pop that collar and we'll go back to the
We're here with Matt LaMarsh from LaMarsh Landscaping.
Well, I want to talk marketing with you. We might
Yeah.
as well just keep filming it. So
Sure.
what's with you? You're a big Gary Vee guy. You're talking about splitting up the video and
Yeah.
putting it out like that. And
Yeah, I think what he's done is really interesting, and his popularity's grown by leaps and bounds over the last couple of years with video, with audio. I mean, he now has a full team just taping him, just recording every word he says. And so both my grandfathers passed away within the last 3 or 4 years, both of them. And that really actually kind of got me thinking about the whole legacy thing. And Gary was kind of on a legacy thing at that time, and that's his big kind of, overarching theme. And, I really started to think about, man, it would be cool if I could go back and watch or listen to my grandfather talk about his first business, or talk about his young family and, what he was going through at that time, and for it to be real and authentic, but also just to hear, especially in audio, would be really cool.
yeah, I've thought about that a lot lately. I think about getting our parents on and having, even if people don't enjoy that maybe post it, maybe not.
You don't know what's going to pop, though. You know what I mean? And it would also, I think, give your listeners a different perspective on you guys, which I think is huge, because I started doing Instagram stories every day. I was doing Snapchat stories for a long time, and a lot of my like high school and college buddies and friends were like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just like documenting, and I'm saving all these videos, and then I'm putting them on YouTube, and I'm." I think it would just be cool if my kids had something to point back to and show my grandkids and their kids. And I just think that's a cool thing. And now we've got it so easy that this is easily producible.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be super fancy. And, Johnny LaMarsh III is going to be watching this in 3019 or whatever. And
on his eyeball cam.
And
his TV built into his head.
And I think that'll be cool. I think that'll be interesting. And hopefully he or she, whoever it is, at that point will go, that's what I got from great grandpa or whatever, You
got to kind of bet on the right social media platform to archive this stuff.
Right.
I mean, let's hope Facebook is around in 100 years.
Yeah.
Or let's hope YouTube is, and probably they will be.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're going to have to really deal with some downloading and re-uploading.
But Snapchat, you don't care that Snapchat went under, or for all intents and purposes went under, because that's
Did they go under?
You're comfortable enough like talking on camera.
Yeah.
Like I'm terrified of that thing, and luckily I keep forgetting about it. But like that's something that I would like to start doing.
Hold on, I gotta sell all my Snap stock.
I'm not quite as deep as you, where you're like, I want my kids to see it. I want people to know me so that I can do business with other people.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what the reason we were doing the podcast was
100%.
to meet more people.
100%.
And it's turned into us learning about the community and trying to be, positive. I'm just a positive person in general. And so we portray that positivity. I don't know what the hell you're doing here. What are you doing
I
here?
don't know what I'm doing either.
Nothing to gain from this. It's just
I entered a contest and lost.
he's just along for the ride. Popping his collar
you're right.
back
You're
and
right,
forth.
though. I mean, and that's the thing. Everything I do, whether it's a video on Instagram or a YouTube video, whatever, to me, there's always a couple strategies or a couple things that are behind it. And you're exactly right. I mean, look, if you don't think that I didn't come here to record a podcast with you guys, because there are similarities, but at the same time, when someone thinks of Sandy Springs, I want them to think of Matt LaMarsh. Mm-hmm. I don't want them to think of City Springs or Movies by Moonlight or any of the events or things that go on. I want them to think of me first, because I'm going to connect them to those things.
Right.
But at the same time, deep down, I know that my great-grandkids are going to watch this someday, or listen to this.
I mean, it seems like you're a connected person anyway. I was not connected. Yeah. I knew nobody in the whole city. Justin, I mean, you knew your neighborhood pretty well. You knew Georgetown. Yeah. But I mean, we didn't know anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And now people reach out to us to get them in touch with other, the CBD
100%.
or something.
And that's what you want.
And it happened fast.
That's what you want.
We haven't even been doing this a year. And
that's what's crazy, though, right?
At the beginning, we didn't try.
We have a lot of politicians and judges in our back pocket. That's what people know when they...
I need a Porsche. That's what I need. So when I got pulled over, I'd be like, we just interviewed the chief of police last week.
Yeah, right.
We're doing a ride-along in a few weeks.
When someone wants to start selling heroin in our community, they have to come through us.
Oh, yeah. That's what we want.
Got it.
Well, you always take it like a step too far.
He's that guy.
Yes.
Got it. No, I think you're right. I think when you become the connector, when you become the plug to services and other businesses and individuals that people want to be in touch with, I think there is a lot of responsibility that comes along with that power. There really is. And for me, I like being the guy that connects you with someone else. So I'm hoping that even if it's just a networking event or shooting a video or doing a podcast, that someone reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I live in Sandy Springs, or we've been thinking about moving to Sandy Springs. Who do you know that can do this?" Even if they never ever buy a house from me, I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I told the mayor during our interview, it didn't make the tape, but I want to be the digital mayor. My wife would never ever allow me to be the actual mayor, so I want to be the digital mayor of Sandy Springs.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it takes 10 minutes for me to write an email to recommend these two people get together, I'm going to do it, without even thinking about it. It's like, all right, this guy needs this person needs this.
And you've run into a lot of that with the pools.
Tons. I mean,
everybody.
I wrote one today to Katie over at the convention bureau. It's like, so. Yeah,
Where'd you get digital mayor from? Is that onion juice?
No, I don't
Do you
think
listen
so.
to onion juice? No.
I'm registering it right now.
Please do. I'll buy it.
We should listen to that one. This guy, Neil Mathwig, is kind of a Gary Vee type of guy.
Okay. I've heard Gary talk a little bit about it. And when I was kind of formulating my strategy behind my real estate business, it was like, what's a great way to meet a lot of people in a short amount of time and let them know about your business? A podcast, a video series, blog. You could certainly blog about it. What I like about video is that, and what I had done over the last 2 or 3 years was document every day of my life, working life, and shown people. I mean, if you go to YouTube and type in Matt LaMarsh, you'll see 200 and something videos of me.
That's a lot.
Yeah, talking about lawn care and landscaping till no end.
In the shower.
If you... No, absolutely not.
Just washing off the day. Hey, YouTube viewers.
Absolutely not. No.
And it's all the same demographic of people that are watching those videos, too. Other guys.
Right. No, but seriously, if you can go there and see the videos, you see... I mean, you learn so much more about turf. I know a lot about landscaping. I know a lot about trees. I don't know. Is that funny?
200 videos about turf.
That's it. That's all it is grass.
Somebody's watching those videos, though.
Yeah, Matt, you've covered this topic, man.
100 times.
Yeah.
But that's the crazy thing is that I could do it 100 more times and it would still never be enough.
And you could be saying the exact same thing as some other idiot out there, and they like you more than that guy.
100%. 100%. So my idea with the Snapchat stuff and building that video kind of audience was, okay, I've now got a lot of other landscapers and lawn care guys and guys that build ponds and even homeowners in my area that are now using me because of it. And so I actually used it to transact business.
Yeah.
And so when I would use a geo filter on there for Brookhaven or for Chambly or for Dunwoody or whatever, someone would be watching my story up in Woodstock and they go, oh, I got a buddy that lives down in Dunwoody. Here, I'll connect you.
Explain that geo filter. I don't even think I know that term.
Yeah, on Snapchat you could swipe through a couple
Instagram
different.
has it too.
Yeah, you can just tag the location that you're in or whatever, and anyone in that story can see that location.
It's like hashtag Dunwoody.
Oh,
yeah,
with an actual.
Yeah, and what's great about Instagram versus Snapchat in that regard is that with Snapchat, you just swiped through, you found it, and then it was just on the video. With Instagram, you've got that same thing, but now you're getting distribution to everyone that watches that story. So if you go follow the hashtag Sandy Springs or hashtag Dunwoody, then you're going to start to see everyone that's used that same hashtag. And then you can go follow them or you can go like some of their content or engage with them, whatever. But that's the major difference between Instagram and Snapchat. And so, one quick story was that I had Brookhaven on there. We were doing like a little landscape job in there and laying some like rock steps down. And a girl that I went to high school with watched my stories. Was like, I have a friend that lives in Brookhaven. So she went down, sent it to her. I went down and did an estimate for him, and we picked up a $500 job just from that one view, just from that one person. Now, obviously, the 1,000 or so people that were watching my Snapchat story didn't all 1,000 of them send me a customer, but at the same time, one did.
Right. Have you noticed how many real estate agents are watching Selling Sandy Springs? Or like reached out to you, friend requests and stuff like that? Bet there's a lot.
Yeah,
we have a lot of real estate agents that listen to this show.
Yeah,
I think it's a little odd, but
Well, I mean,
but it's also a connection. Like one of them sent me a house this morning that's not on the market yet, but knew that I had Dan looking for a house in that area.
Yeah,
so she sent me a house that was off market.
Yeah, I mean,
Gina Bodell.
Gina,
plug there.
Yeah, I don't see other agents as competitors, really.
Yeah,
I don't, because you can't, right? There's a pie out there, but then there's another pie somewhere else. And for me, I mean, that was one of my hesitations initially when I got into business was, in my office there's 500 agents. That's a lot of competition. But then when you start to talk to each one of them, you're like, oh, that one works over in Douglasville, this one's over in Conyers, this one's down near the airport, and it's like, so I don't really have as much competition as I thought. But in Sandy Springs, in Dunwoody, in Brookhaven, and Buckhead, there's a lot of competition, right? But at the same time, I don't see other agents as competition. I see them actually as an asset because they know people that I don't know. They know about houses that I don't know about. And that could also help me.
Well, and there's always two people benefiting anytime the house sales, right?
Yeah.
Or real estate agents.
Yeah.